The vastness of space echoed with the cold, calculating tones of the Galactic Federation's high commanders. They watched Earth from the farthest reaches of their advanced technology, their laughter ringing through the communication channels. They scoffed at the human race, dismissing them as a primitive, insignificant species, an outdated civilization far too weak to pose any real threat. In their eyes, Earth was nothing more than a blip on the radar of the galaxy's dominant powers. A massive fleet of sleek, gleaming warships, each one brimming with cutting-edge technology, made its way toward Earth's orbit. Their mission was simple: conquer, enslave, and eradicate whatever resistance existed. The Federation commanders didn't even feel the need for an elaborate strategy. They believed the humans would cower in fear, unable to mount any meaningful defense against their overwhelming strength. As the alien fleet entered Earth's atmosphere, the commanders chuckled among themselves, envisioning Earth's imminent destruction. The human cities would fall like dominoes, and their technology, outdated and feeble compared to the Federation's, would stand no chance against the might of their advanced forces. No one, not even the humans themselves, knew the true power that lay within their homeworld. But just as the Federation prepared to launch their full-scale assault, a strange anomaly caught their attention. A faint, barely noticeable signal, almost too weak to be detected, flashed across the communication channels. It was not an attack, nor a distress signal, but something that piqued their curiosity. It came from deep within the reaches of space, from an uncharted area that the Federation's technology had never ventured into. It was a message, simple yet undeniable, and it was coming from Earth. The commanders stopped their laughter. For the first time, a hint of confusion settled into the Federation's ranks. What could this signal be? Was it a desperate plea for help? Or was it something far more unexpected? The Federation's commanders decided to investigate, sending out a series of reconnaissance drones to trace the origin of the transmission. It was clear that whatever this signal was, it had to be taken seriously. And then, the truth began to emerge. The signal was not from Earth's current population, but from one of Earth's long-forgotten colonies, hidden away in the farthest corners of space. A secret mission, launched centuries ago, had established hidden human colonies on distant planets far beyond the reach of the Federation's surveillance. These colonies had been isolated, their existence unknown to the Federation. The humans had built these colonies in secrecy, anticipating that one day they would need to fight back against the powerful forces that sought to crush their freedom. The Federation's commanders were stunned. The humans were not as weak as they had believed. The galaxy had no idea what Earth had been doing in the shadows, what they had built while the Federation and other alien civilizations focused on their dominance. The commanders' disbelief gave way to concern. They hadn't just underestimated Earth, they had completely misread humanity's potential. What they had dismissed as a primitive species had been hiding a force far more advanced than they could have imagined. Tension began to build in the Federation's ranks as the realization hit them. Earth was not the helpless planet they had presumed it to be. The signal from the hidden colony was a clear message of defiance. The humans had been waiting. They had been preparing. And now, the Federation was about to face an adversary far more dangerous than they could have ever anticipated. As the commanders continued to scrutinize the mysterious transmission, a single figure stood in the shadows of one of Earth's hidden colonies. Captain Aria Brooks, a high-ranking officer of this clandestine force, was already preparing for the inevitable. The Federation's ships were nearing Earth's orbit, and it wouldn't be long before the first shot was fired. Aria's mind raced as she assessed the situation. Her fleet, a group of human warships hidden deep within the unexplored reaches of space, had been waiting for this moment for centuries. The time for hiding was over. With a single command, Aria activated the hidden human fleet. The ships, cloaked and undetectable to the Federation sensors, began to move into position. These ships were equipped with the latest technology, cloaking devices, AI-driven combat systems, and energy weapons that surpassed anything the Federation had seen. The Federation might have thought Earth's greatest defense was its oceans, mountains, and cities, but it was about to learn that humanity had much more hidden beneath the surface. Aria stood on the bridge of her flagship, her eyes focused on the holographic map of the Federation's advancing fleet. She had spent years training, preparing for this moment. Her fleet was ready, not just to defend Earth, but to retaliate against the arrogance that the Federation had displayed for so long. The Federation's mockery of humanity's strength had gone unchallenged for far too long. Now, humanity would show the galaxy exactly what they were capable of. The human fleet was on the move, preparing to strike when the time was right. The Federation's first wave of attacks would hit Earth with full force, but they would never see it coming. The hidden colonies had been preparing for this day, and now it was their turn to bring the fight to the Federation. As the Federation commanders laughed among themselves, oblivious to the impending threat, Captain Aria Brooks' voice echoed through the communication systems of the hidden fleet. Prepare for battle. The time has come to show them what humanity is truly capable of. The laughter from the Federation fleet faded, replaced by the sounds of alarms and commands, as they suddenly realized that the tables were about to turn. Earth, which had once been viewed as an insignificant primitive world, was now the battleground for the most crucial war the galaxy had ever seen. As the Federation's ships prepared for their attack, they had no idea that the first shot fired would not be from their own fleet, but from Earth's hidden colonies, emerging from the depths of space to reclaim the galaxy's respect. The Federation had mocked humanity for far too long, but now, the true power of Earth was about to be unleashed. And so, the battle for Earth began. The hum of the engines resonated throughout the bridge of the hidden flagship. Captain Aria Brooks stood tall, her eyes focused on the holographic display in front of her. The Federation's fleet was closing in, ready to unleash destruction upon Earth. But what they didn't know was that they were walking into a trap set by humanity itself. Aria had waited for this moment for years, prepared for it since the day she lost everything to the Federation's cruelty. Her mind raced as she watched the Federation's ships approach Earth's atmosphere. These were the same ships that had mocked her people, that had stolen her family from her. The pain of that loss burned in her chest, fueling the determination that had driven her every step of the way. She wasn't just fighting for survival. She was fighting for revenge. She was fighting to show the Federation just how wrong they were about humanity. Aria's thoughts were interrupted as a low rumble filled the command center. The Federation had launched their first wave of attacks. Large, intimidating ships with weapons capable of tearing through any defense Earth could muster. They had no idea that their overwhelming might was about to be shattered by the unseen. "Prepare the fleet," Aria commanded, her voice calm but steely. "Activate cloaking devices. Initiate Phase 1. Her orders were met with swift efficiency. The hidden fleet of human warships, camouflaged in the black void of space, began to shift into action. Advanced cloaking devices activated, rendering the ships nearly invisible to any radar or sensors the Federation ships had. Aria's fleet had always been in the shadows, waiting for the right moment. Now, they were the storm, poised to strike when the Federation least expected it. As the Federation fleet began its assault on Earth, confident in their victory, they were unaware that a force of equal, if not greater, power had already gathered, hidden away in the dark expanse of space. Aria's fleet emerged like ghosts, drifting silently through the stars, undetectable and deadly. The Federation's arrogance would be their downfall. Aria's flagship, a massive warship adorned with stealth technology and powerful energy weapons, moved into position. The entire fleet was connected by an AI-driven system that allowed them to communicate and coordinate with perfect precision. The AI had analyzed the Federation's tactics, anticipated their every move, and had already devised a strategy to cripple them before they could even fire their first shot. As the first wave of Federation ships descended toward Earth's surface, they began to feel the effects of their ignorance. Their scanners and sensors, designed to track incoming threats, failed to register the human ships closing in. It was too late. The fleet struck like a sudden burst of lightning, catching the Federation completely off guard. Aria's fleet opened fire, the experimental weapon she had spent years perfecting tearing through the Federation ships. Energy blasts exploded with the force of 1,000 suns, each strike destabilizing the enemy's shields and hulls. The Federation's once laughing commanders now found themselves in the midst of chaos, their fleet crumbling under the unseen assault. The Federation had no countermeasures for an invisible enemy. They were used to overpowering their foes with brute force, but they had never anticipated this kind of war. They had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt, to survive, and to fight back when cornered. And now, they were paying the price for their arrogance. Aria stood at the helm, watching as the Federation's ships began to break apart. She didn't feel satisfaction, at least not yet. This was only the beginning. She knew that this counterattack was just the first step in a much larger struggle. The Federation had to learn that humanity was not a weak species to be mocked, but a force to be reckoned with. Her mind flashed to the faces of her family, their lives lost when the Federation destroyed her home planet. Her mother, father, and younger brother, all taken from her by the very people she was now fighting. The anger she had buried for so long surged up, and for the first time in years, she felt a sense of clarity. This was why she fought. This was why she had built this fleet in the shadows, why she had trained for so long. To avenge her family, to avenge all those who had suffered at the hands of the Federation. Her voice was steady as she gave the order. Phase 2. Deploy the war machines. Let them see what we're really capable of. From the depths of her fleet emerged a new weapon. Eye-driven war machines, designed for close-quarters combat. These machines were more than just robots. They were advanced, sentient beings with the ability to think and act independently. They had been programmed to fight with the same precision and ruthlessness as their human counterparts. As they deployed, the Federation's forces were completely overwhelmed. Their sleek ships were no match for the brutal efficiency of the human war machines, which tore through their lines with ease. The battle was fierce, but the tide had already turned. The Federation, which had once seen itself as the pinnacle of power in the galaxy, was now in retreat. They scrambled to regroup, but it was too late. Aria and her fleet were already on the offensive, and they weren't about to stop until the Federation was crushed. The laughter that had filled the Federation's ranks had long since been silenced. Now there was only the sound of chaos, the sound of a superior force fighting for its survival. And in that moment, Aria knew one thing for sure. Humanity had proven its worth. The Federation had mocked them, underestimated them, but now they would learn that Earth was not a planet to be taken lightly. The battle was far from over, but the hidden colonies had struck back, and they had done so with a vengeance. As Aria watched the Federation's forces break apart under the weight of their own mistakes, she felt a sense of pride swell in her chest. This was only the beginning, but already the Federation's arrogance had led to its first defeat. The human fleet, led by Captain Aria Brooks, was no longer hidden in the shadows. They had come into the light, and the galaxy would never forget the day Earth showed its true strength. The first wave of human counterattacks had left the Federation in disarray. Aria Brooks and her fleet had struck hard and fast, using their cloaking technology and surprise tactics to inflict devastating damage. But even as victory seemed within their grasp, the Federation's response was swift, and it was terrifying. Aria stood at the helm of her flagship, her eyes fixed on the holographic display. The Federation had not given up. They were regrouping. In moments of desperation, the Federation was known to call in their reinforcements, their ultimate weapon. And now, they were mobilizing the most massive fleet Earth had ever seen. Massive Federation battleships, each one larger than anything the humans had ever faced, appeared from the depths of space. They had never seen ships this size, built with technology far beyond their own. These colossal vessels were equipped with advanced weaponry, shields that could withstand even the most powerful attacks, and fleets of fighter ships designed to overwhelm any opponent. Aria's heart sank as she watched the Federation's reinforcements arrive in full force. Her fleet, though skilled and well-prepared, was vastly outnumbered. The humans had won their first battle, but the war was far from over. "Captain, they got us outgunned," her second-in-command, Bonner, said grimly. His voice echoed through the command room as the tension in the air thickened. Aria's mind raced. The Federation's superior firepower would make a direct confrontation impossible. They were in a losing position unless they adapted quickly. The Federation ships had the technological advantage, but Aria wasn't about to give up. Her team had already proved that they could outthink their enemies, and now they would need to do it again. "Hold steady," Aria ordered, her voice calm despite the urgency of the situation. "We know their tactics. We can use their arrogance against them. Trust the plan." The Federation, with all its advanced weaponry, was still bound by predictable patterns. They were powerful, but their reliance on overwhelming force made them vulnerable to a well-executed strike. Aria knew that if they could anticipate their moves and strike at the right moment, they could still tip the scales in their favor. The underdog struggle had worked for them before, and it would work again. But she needed time, and time was running out. As Aria prepared to engage in yet another strategic battle, something caught her attention. An odd signal from the Federation's flagship. It was faint, barely detectable, but unmistakably alarming. Her fingers flew across the control panel, enhancing the signal. A terrifying realization hit her. "They're preparing something. Something big," Aria said, her voice filled with dread. The Federation was not just retaliating with more ships. They were about to unleash a weapon that could end everything. The planetary bomb, a super weapon capable of eradicating entire planets, was almost ready to fire. Aria's heart pounded. If the Federation launched that bomb, Earth would be gone in an instant. The stakes had just been raised higher than ever. Every calculation, every plan, every risk Aria had taken until this point suddenly seemed insignificant compared to the looming threat of annihilation. "Bonner," Aria said, her eyes locking with his, "we need to take out that bomb. It's our only chance." Bonner nodded, his face resolute. "Understood, Captain. We'll do whatever it takes." Aria's fleet had been dealt a blow when the Federation reinforcements arrived, but they weren't finished yet. If they could destroy the Federation's superweapon, it could turn the tide of the war in their favor. But the path ahead would be treacherous, and there was no guarantee they would survive. In the midst of the chaos, the humans executed their next phase of the plan. They divided their forces, with some ships providing cover, while others made a direct run toward the Federation flagship, where the bomb was being prepared for launch. Aria's flagship led the charge, with Bonner's ship close behind. The tension in the command room was palpable as the human fleet moved into position. Every second counted. If they didn't strike at the right moment, they would lose everything. The Federation had already begun to fire upon them, massive laser blasts filling the space between them. Aria's fleet weaved through the oncoming fire, using their cloaking devices to dodge the enemy's strikes, but they couldn't hold out forever. The Federation's firepower was relentless, and each blast sent shockwaves through Aria's fleet. The battle was intense. Aria could see her comrades fall, ships disintegrating under the sheer power of the Federation's weapons. But they couldn't stop now. As they approached the Federation flagship, Bonner's voice came through the comms, steady and calm. "Captain, we're in position, ready to deliver the strike." But just as they were about to make their move, disaster struck. A Federation ship emerged from the shadows, its powerful weapons targeting Bonner's vessel. Aria's breath caught in her throat as she watched Bonner's ship take the brunt of the attack, its shields flickering before they were overwhelmed. The blast sent the ship spiraling out of control, and Aria could see the explosion from her own ship. "No," Aria shouted, fury and heartbreak surging through her. Bonner had sacrificed himself to buy time for the fleet. The pain of his loss hit her like a physical blow. He had been a friend, a brother in arms, and now he was gone. But his sacrifice was not in vain. His ship had cleared the way for Aria's fleet to make their move. With the Federation distracted by Bonner's final stand, Aria's flagship pushed forward, the remaining ships of her fleet following close behind. The superweapon was within reach. The countdown to destruction was ticking down. Aria's hands were steady on the controls, but her heart was heavy with grief. Bonner's sacrifice had given them a chance to succeed, and she wasn't going to waste it. "Target the superweapon," Aria commanded. "This is for Bonner, for Earth." The final assault had begun, and with it, the fate of humanity hung in the balance. But Aria's resolve was unshaken. She would stop the Federation's deadly weapon, no matter the cost. The war was far from over, but with Bonner's sacrifice, humanity had a fighting chance to turn the tide and show the Federation just how wrong they were. The Federation had begun its countdown to launch the superweapon, the planetary bomb that would end Earth's existence in a single catastrophic blast. The time to act was now, and Aria Brooks knew that humanity's survival rested on a knife's edge. The Federation fleet, massive and relentless, circled Earth like vultures waiting to strike. The threat was real, and it was looming. Every second that passed felt like an eternity. Aria's mind raced. She knew the Federation's technological superiority could crush them if they didn't act fast. The Federation's flagship was their last line of defense, the place where the superweapon was being prepared for launch. If they couldn't destroy the weapon before it was deployed, Earth would fall. The Federation had underestimated humanity's resolve, but now they were about to see what Aria and her team were capable of. Aria made a decision, a desperate decision. She would lead a small elite strike team directly onto the Federation flagship. It was a suicide mission. There was no guarantee they would survive, but it was the only chance to stop the destruction of Earth. "Get ready, team," Aria said, her voice steady despite the weight of what lay ahead. "We're going in." The small team of elite soldiers, handpicked for their skills and bravery, stood behind her, their faces set with determination. They were the last hope. Aria knew that if they failed, the Federation would wipe out everything they loved. But she wasn't about to let that happen. Not after everything they had already fought for. The team boarded a stealth ship, cloaked from the Federation's sensors. They flew silently toward the massive Federation flagship, hoping to remain undetected. The air in the ship was thick with tension as they approached the enemy vessel. This was it, the moment that would determine the fate of humanity. As they docked inside the Federation ship, Aria's heart pounded. The vastness of the battleship was overwhelming. It stretched for miles, filled with soldiers, drones, and automated defenses. The team disembarked, moving quickly and quietly, trying to avoid detection. Their mission was simple: infiltrate the core of the ship, destroy the superweapon, and escape alive. Easier said than done. The first wave of enemies appeared almost immediately. Armed Federation soldiers, heavily equipped with energy weapons and drones, swarmed the corridors. Aria's team reacted instantly, guns blazing, as they fought to clear a path. The air was filled with the sound of explosions, the whir of drones overhead, and the sharp crack of energy blasts. Aria's heart raced as she led the charge, her mind focused on the mission, her body moving on instinct. The team's movements were precise, a well-coordinated dance of survival. They moved swiftly through the corridors, cutting down any enemy soldiers who stood in their way. But the further they went, the harder it became. The Federation was prepared for an attack. They had set traps, deployed drones, and set up security systems at every turn. It was a constant battle, one that tested their limits. Aria could feel the weight of her fallen comrades on her shoulders. Bonner's sacrifice had given them this chance, but now, with every step, she carried the weight of every soldier who had fought and died. She fought for them. She fought for Earth. Their journey was a relentless series of close-quarters battles. Every door they opened brought them face to face with enemy forces, each encounter more intense than the last. but they were making progress, inch by inch, pushing deeper into the Federation ship. Aria's hands were slick with sweat, her mind sharp with the knowledge that time was running out. Finally, they reached the central core of the Federation flagship, the heart of the superweapon. The massive chamber was a sight to behold. The core was surrounded by shields and heavily guarded by Federation soldiers. The bomb itself, a colossal device capable of destroying Earth in an instant, was ominously pulsing in the center. Aria's stomach twisted as she gazed at the weapon that threatened everything she had ever known. But there was no time to waste. They had to act now. Aria's team took cover behind a set of large control consoles, weapons drawn. The battle that followed was unlike anything they had faced. The Federation soldiers fought back fiercely, using advanced weapons and armored suits to try and repel the attackers. Aria's team fought with everything they had, their movements quick and precise, their determination unshakable. Explosions tore through the room, the air filled with the bright flash of energy beams as both sides clashed. Aria's heart raced as she led the charge, her every step filled with the weight of what was at stake. She couldn't afford to fail, not now, not when they were so close. In the midst of the chaos, Aria's eyes locked on her target, the central control panel. If she could destroy it, the superweapon would be disabled. She signaled to her team, and they rushed forward, cutting down enemies as they moved. But as they neared the panel, a Federation general appeared, flanked by a squad of elite soldiers. The general was the mastermind behind the destruction of Earth. His cold, calculating gaze met Aria's, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. "You really think you can stop us?" The general sneered, his voice dripping with arrogance. "You're nothing but insects. We'll crush you just like we crushed your world." Aria's grip tightened on her weapon. The Federation had underestimated humanity once again. She was done with their arrogance. She wasn't going to let them destroy Earth. Not now, not ever. The final confrontation was brutal. Aria and the general exchanged fire, their soldiers clashing around them. The battle seemed to last forever, each second stretching out like an eternity. But Aria's resolve never wavered. She had come too far to fail now. With a final, desperate push, Aria reached the control panel. She planted explosives, setting the timer to destroy the superweapon once and for all. The explosion rocked the Federation ship, the shockwave sending Aria and her team tumbling across the floor. The general's final scream was drowned out by the blast. Aria's team had done it. They had stopped the weapon. Earth was safe, at least for now. But as the smoke cleared and the Federation flagship began to crumble around them, Aria couldn't help but think of those who had fallen. Bonner, her family, the countless soldiers who had given everything for this moment. They had won, but the cost had been great. As she and her team made their escape, the wreckage of the Federation flagship behind them, Aria couldn't shake the feeling that this war was far from over. The Federation had underestimated humanity, but they had learned their lesson. And now the fight for Earth's future was just beginning. The countdown echoed in Aria Brooke's mind like a relentless drumbeat, the seconds ticking down to Earth's final moments. The Federation's weapon was almost ready to launch, its destructive power poised to annihilate everything humanity had ever known. It was a battle of time now, and Earth's survival rested on a knife's edge. Aria's pulse raced as she led her team through the decimated remains of the Federation flagship. Every footstep was heavy, every breath filled with the weight of their mission. Their objective was simple: disable the weapon. But as they made their way deeper into the ship, the atmosphere grew increasingly hostile. The Federation's defenses were everywhere, every corner a potential threat. The sound of their footsteps was muffled by the ever-present hum of machinery, a constant reminder that time was running out. The weapon was too close, and with each passing moment, the situation grew more desperate. When they reached the control room, the Federation leader awaited them, a towering figure clad in the advanced battle armor of the Federation's elite. His cold, calculating eyes met Aria's, as if he had been waiting for this moment, the culmination of their war. A sneer curled on his lips, his voice a low growl as he spoke. Did you truly believe you could stop us, human? Your kind has always been beneath us. You're nothing. Aria's grip tightened on her weapon. She had heard his kind's insults too many times, and today would be no different. Today, she would show him that humans weren't weak. She wasn't going to let Earth fall, not on her watch. With a swift motion, Aria and her team launched themselves at the Federation leader, their weapons blazing. The battle was fierce. The Federation leader was a skilled fighter, his armor impenetrable and his attacks precise. Aria's team fought with everything they had, but the Federation's superior technology was a constant threat. The air was thick with the smell of burning circuits and the sound of clashing weapons. Sparks flew from the walls as energy beams collided. It was chaos. The leader's power was overwhelming, but Aria wasn't about to give up. She moved with calculated precision, using every trick she had learned in the shadows. Her years of training, her grief, her anger, it all fueled her determination. She was going to win this for Earth, for humanity. With a final, desperate move, Aria leaped forward, using the distraction her team created to reach the control panel. Her fingers flew over the buttons, quickly bypassing the Federation's security systems. Sweat poured down her face, but she didn't falter. The weapon's countdown was still ticking, and she could feel the weight of the world on her shoulders. And then, with a decisive motion, she disabled the weapon. The countdown stopped. For a moment, the silence was deafening. The Federation's weapon was no longer a threat, but it wasn't over. Not yet. With Aria's success, the Federation retaliated with a fury unlike anything they had shown before. The Federation's fleet, already in position, began its counteroffensive, launching everything they had at Earth. Orbital bombardment rained down from the sky, the bright flashes of laser fire cutting through the atmosphere. The Earth trembled as the Federation unleashed its fury. Aria's heart sank as the explosions lit up the sky, each one a reminder that the battle was far from over. Earth wasn't safe yet. She and her team had won one battle, but now they had to face the full might of the Federation's war machine. The Federation wasn't going to back down easily. They were determined to crush humanity once and for all. The humans fought back with everything they had. Aria's fleet, though vastly outnumbered, wasn't giving up. The battles raged on. The sky lit with streaks of laser fire. Explosions shook the ground, and debris filled the air. It was chaos. The Federation had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. But even in the face of overwhelming odds, the humans didn't flinch. Aria and her team coordinated their attacks, using every bit of advanced technology at their disposal. The Federation's massive warships, once so terrifying in their superiority, were beginning to show cracks. Humanity had proven its resilience, and the Federation's forces were starting to feel the sting of their arrogance. Then, something unexpected happened. The Federation's AI, the very system that had powered their fleet, began to malfunction. A wave of confusion spread through their ranks as their most advanced technology began to fail. The AI that had once controlled everything, from the Federation's battleships to their war machines, was now crippled by a series of unexpected glitches. The Federation's command structure started to fall apart as their own technology turned against them. Ships lost their ability to coordinate. Weapons malfunctioned. Communications were severed. The humans had done it. Through ingenuity, persistence, and sheer willpower, they had forced the Federation to falter. The Federation's own technology, so confident and powerful just hours before, was now the source of their downfall. But the victory was not without its cost. As Aria watched the Federation's forces disintegrate before her eyes, she couldn't help but think of those who had sacrificed everything to reach this point. Bonner, her family, every soldier who had died to protect Earth. They had given their lives for this moment, and their sacrifices had not been in vain. Despite the chaos unfolding above, Aria knew that this battle wasn't truly over. The Federation's failure to launch the superweapon was a victory, but they had learned a harsh lesson. Humanity wasn't going to go down without a fight. The final offensive had been stopped, but the war was far from over. As the Federation scrambled to regroup, Area made a vow. They would never stop fighting. Earth would stand. Humanity would rise. And the Federation would never again underestimate them. As the dust began to settle and the Federation's ships retreated, Area stood on the bridge of her ship, her eyes fixed on the horizon. The Federation had lost, but the real battle for Earth's future was just beginning. Earth had proven its strength, but now it was time to prepare for the next phase. The war had only just begun. The Federation's fleet, once a towering symbol of power and dominance, was now in complete disarray. What had once seemed like an unstoppable force was crumbling before the ingenuity and resilience of humanity. The sabotage had worked. The Federation's advanced AI systems were malfunctioning, their ships scattered and confused. The Federation had underestimated Earth and paid the price. Area Brooks and her crew stood victorious, but the cost of that victory was immeasurable. As the final Federation ships retreated into the blackness of space, there was no celebration, no cheers, just the heavy silence of those who had witnessed the destruction of so many lives. The war had been long, brutal, and filled with unimaginable sacrifices, but humanity had won. Against all odds, the underdog had risen, and the galaxy had witnessed Earth's strength. The fleet made its way back to Earth, but there were no grand parades awaiting them. There were no roaring crowds. The human race had been forever changed, and they were not the same people who had once cowered under the Federation's rule. Earth was scared, the cities torn apart by the countless battles fought above the surface. Yet, as Area stood at the helm of her ship, looking out over the planet she had fought so hard to protect, she couldn't help but feel a strange sense of pride. The war was over, but the damage was done. The Federation's assault had left a lasting impact on the planet, and the cost in lives was staggering. Thousands had died in the defense of Earth. Friends, family, soldiers who had given everything for the cause. Area thought of them, of Bonner, who had given his life to ensure the fleet's survival. She thought of the civilians who had perished when Federation bombs had rained down on the cities. So many lives had been lost, and so many had given their last breath for humanity's future. Yet, amidst the devastation, humanity had earned something far greater than survival. They had earned respect. For too long, Earth had been seen as nothing more than a small, insignificant planet in a galaxy full of powerful empires. The Federation had assumed they could crush humanity without a second thought. But in the end, it was the Federation that had underestimated the power of the human spirit. And now, the galaxy would never see Earth the same way again. As Area and her surviving crew returned to Earth, they were hailed as heroes, but it didn't feel like one. The cheers from the people were muffled by the weight of what had been lost. Area's eyes scanned the horizon as she thought of the people she had fought for, of the generations that had come before her who had laid the foundation for this victory. This wasn't just her victory, it was humanity's victory. Earth had stood up against a galaxy that had mocked them, and proved that they were no longer the underdog. But even as they returned to the battered Earth, there was no turning back. The hidden colonies, once a secret force in the galaxy, were no longer hidden. They had revealed themselves in the heat of battle, showing the Federation and everyone else what humanity was truly capable of. The colonies, though scattered and living in isolation for so long, had fought with unmatched strength and coordination. They had been humanity's hidden weapons, and now the entire galaxy knew that Earth was not a planet to be taken lightly. Area gazed out of her ship's window, looking down at the Earth below. It was a fragile planet, battered and scarred from the war, but it was still alive. Humanity had survived. Against all odds, Earth had proven its resilience, and that was something the Federation had failed to understand. Earth wasn't weak. Earth wasn't fragile. Earth was strong. Area's mind drifted to the future, a future she had fought for. She had seen the galaxy from a distance, the stars, the distant planets, and the cold, impersonal universe. She had seen humanity struggle, rise, and now she saw Earth's future shining brightly. The galaxy would never again overlook humanity. The Federation had learned their lesson the hard way. The universe was vast, and humanity had just earned its place among the stars. But Aria knew that the victory came with a heavy price. The Federation might be defeated, but the war was not the end. It was only the beginning of a new era for humanity. Earth was no longer the underdog. The hidden colonies were no longer in the shadows. Earth had proven it could stand up against the strongest forces in the galaxy. But now, Earth would have to rebuild. They had to secure their place in the galaxy, rebuild their cities, restore their lost technologies, and rebuild the lives that had been shattered by the war. Aria had seen the best and the worst of humanity in this war. She had seen the courage, the sacrifice, the determination to fight for something greater than themselves. And she had also seen the horrors of war, the destruction, the loss, the pain. But through it all, humanity had shown its true nature. They had risen from the ashes of destruction, and they had emerged victorious. As she looked down at Earth, Aria could see the spark of hope in the hearts of the people. Despite the destruction, despite the pain, humanity had survived. The world would rebuild, the colonies would flourish, and humanity would grow stronger, more united than ever before. The Federation had fallen, but the real work was just beginning. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. Humanity had proven its place in the universe, and no one would dare challenge Earth again. The Federation's defeat was just the first chapter in a new era for humanity. Aria had fought for survival, but now she fought for the future, for a future where Earth was no longer a target, a future where humanity could thrive, and a future where humanity's place in the stars was secure. Aria wasn't just a survivor. She was a symbol of human strength, resilience, and determination. And as she looked out over the shattered world that had given birth to her, she knew one thing: the future was bright. The war had been hard, but humanity had earned its victory. And this was only the beginning.